Your Steve Jones Show podcast will start shortly. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Brewers Outlet, your beverage supermarket on Reagan Street in Sunbury. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show is brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestic microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, waters, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And the Pickle Bar, led by the barrels and the dills, indeed is second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. We're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Rowdy Gaines in just a few moments. First of all, our play-by-play call of the day.
Bronco trying to win it for the Phils. 2-2 game, bottom of the ninth. Bear Claw ready. He kicks the pitch. Breaking ball swung on, lifted in the air to left. It's got a chance. Back is Galloway at the track, at the wall. He jumps. It's gone! Game over! Bronco wins it! 3-run home run with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth inning. 5-2 Phillies, and they're waiting for Mikey at home plate.
He's saying, bring it on, boys.
And the Phillies walk them off, still in first place in the National League East.
Scott Fransky with the call last night. Larry Anderson in the background on the Phillies radio network. Also heard on WKOK from Macau Franco. That is his first career walk-off home run as they resurrect themselves and beat the Marlins last night. Remember, for the Phillies right now, I mentioned last week when they made the deals, one of the keys so far is that they have not been pursued. Well, now they are being pursued. The Nationals are starting to play better. That was a big win for them last night. Rowdy Gaines knows how to pursue and also understands pursuers better than anybody in the world of swimming and maybe in the world of sports. Rowdy, it's a privilege. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you much, Steve. It's an honor to be with you, my friend.
Rowdy, let's start with this. Obviously, rising senior Ally McHugh out of Philadelphia and Penn State goes to the meet. And not only does she get 2 medals, a silver and a gold, but she also at one stage shaves 13 seconds off her best. What impressed you about what you saw from Ally McHugh?
Well, it would be similar to if you're a big baseball fan or a basketball fan of somebody that you've never heard of doing something miraculous at one of the big competitions of the year in the playoffs, because this is the playoffs for swimming. I mean, I know everybody thinks about swimming, but for us, we do have big meets every summer, and the big meet for us this summer was the national championships in the Pan Pacifics next week in Tokyo. And so every year there's this huge meet. So Ally really kind of came out of nowhere to be able to do the kinds of things she did at that meet. I mean, it was unbelievable to see. She wins the 400 IM, which there is nobody in the building or nobody in that arena that said she was going to win that race. And she did it, and she did it in a time that was, the third fastest time in the world at the time. So it was an unbelievable drop, and you mentioned it was nearly 14 seconds in the 1500, and she had one of those meets that you just dream about as an athlete.
When you talk to some people, what do they attribute her improvement to?
Well, I think one of the big things is her coach Tim Murphy at Penn State, the assistant there Steve Barnes. They have done a tremendous job at Penn State, and I think they have instilled a confidence in all of their athletes, but certainly Ally. Ally's always had the talent, but it's difficult to step up and do it against the best. There are some really good swimmers in that 400 IM especially. I mean, names that people aren't going to recognize, but the Melanie Margalises and Ella Eastons, and there's so many others. Brooke Forty, the daughter of Pat Forty, the Yahoo Sports guy, daughter was tremendous in that event. So that's tough to overcome mentally, you know. And so I think they got her to believe. And once she started believing in herself, she went for it. I mean, she won her best time in the 400 IM by 5.5 seconds, which in swimming, those people that don't understand swimming is unbelievable. I'd be thrilled if I won a best time by 2 or 3 tenths, and it didn't matter what race. So for her to do it by 5.5 seconds in a 400 IM was just nothing short of miraculous.
And she also got her second medal. She claimed a silver in the women's 1,500-meter freestyle.
Right.
And Ashley Twitchell, I believe, is the reigning open water 10K national champion. I mean, that's a tough competitor right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and Ashley is one of those swimmers that have been around a long, long time. She's been on the national team for 7 or 8 years. And you're right, in the 10K, and to be able to go in there in the 1,500. Now, Katie Ledecky didn't swim it, but it really didn't matter to Ally because her confidence was really built on, I think, first of all, in the 800 freestyle earlier in the meet, and then the 400 IM. Well, you know, she dropped 6 seconds in the 800, so it was really cool to see that and see this type of athlete and this type of person because she's really a nice person. I don't know her very well. I've seen her and seen her on the deck, but everybody tells me she's, you know, a wonderful person and somebody it's easy to cheer for. And that's somebody, you know, that USA Swimming desperately needs because there are a lot of great 400 IMers and a lot of great distance swimmers around the world that are not Americans. So the United States kind of needed an Ally McHugh to kind of step up.
In fact, I was going to ask you about the state of American swimming right now. How do you look at the state of, let's start with the women. What's the state of women's swimming right now as we're sitting here 2 years away from going to Tokyo?
Well, if you're a swimming fan, I think you realize that, you know, women's swimming is in really good hands right now because they have the big stars, you know, Simone Manuel, first African-American woman ever to win an Olympic gold medal in Rio. And then you have Katie Ledecky, who is the greatest female swimmer in the history of the sport. Bar none, nobody's even close. So she's still swimming and still swimming at the top of her game. And then you had a performance by Kathleen Baker, who most people don't know of now, but trust me, they will in 2 years. She broke a world record in the 100 backstroke at the national championships. And then you have little, you know, again, athletes that most average people aren't going to recognize, but athletes like Haley Flickener and Reagan Smith, who's 16 years old, and some really young swimmers like Ally, who are going to be really good in 2 years. And so the women's team is really set. Steve, USA has been number one in the world of swimming. Think about this for a second. Number one since 1956. Right. No other team, no other sport can claim that kind of dominance on a world level. Nowhere, anywhere in the world. I don't care if you go to cricket over in India. It doesn't matter. No country has had that dominance for 62 straight years. So the women are in good hands.
I have to ask you, though, about Missy Franklin. Obviously, she's trying to come back from a variety of issues, depression, anxiety, among others. Where does she stand to you right now, Rowdy?
It's tough, buddy. I mean, this sport will chew you up and spit you out. I mean, it's not an easy sport to maintain any kind of high level. That's why Katie's so amazing, because she's been doing it for 6 years. Missy had a tough meet. It was, you know, I mean, it was a step in the right direction, but she still has a long way to go. There's no doubt about it. But it's Missy Franklin. I mean, you know, there's a reason why she won so many gold medals back in 2012. She did it once. I think she's capable of doing it again, but it's still going to take some time. Injuries are tough in our sport to overcome, both mentally and physically. And Missy is one of those swimmers that I definitely think can do it. And I think Irvine, the national championships, was a step in the right direction, but we really don't know until the Olympics. Because, to be honest with you, everybody loves us every 4 years. So, you know, yes. in about 20 months, everybody's going to love swimming, and then we can talk about Missy Franklin again, because that's where it's really going to matter. Nobody really cares about anything else in between. Right, exactly. And Missy, by the way, is still the world record holder, I believe, in the 200-meter backstroke. That's exactly right. Nobody's even close to her. Her 204 flat's about a second and a half faster than anybody else has been in the last 4 years. Then now let's flip it to the other side. What's the state 2 years out of men's swimming? No Michael Phelps. I mean, even the casual fan of swimming knows the name Michael Phelps, and that's always going to hurt you because he is the greatest Olympian in history, certainly the greatest swimmer in history, and when you win 28 medals, that's hard to replace, my man. And it's going to be tough to replace that. But I know there are some really good swimmers. You know, you definitely have some really, really great swimmers. Michael Andrew is one of these little kids. I say little kids, he's 19 years old now, but people are going to know that name. Caleb Dressel, definitely they're going to know that name. He won 7 gold medals at the World Championships last summer. Ryan Murphy, who won 2 golds in Rio in the backstroke, is the best backstroker in the world. So there are some. Chase Kalish is the best all-around swimmer in the world today. He won the 200 and 400 IM last summer. So, you know, nobody's going to beat the United States in Tokyo. Nobody is, men or women. They're going to be number one, but it's a little early with the retirement of Michael Phelps to kind of say, will we get back to winning? I say we because I can do that now. We won half the gold medals in Rio. There were 32 events. The United States won 16 of them.
That's okay. When I do football with Jack Ham, Jack refers to Penn State as we. So you can do
we
that.
Can say we now. I just can't do it on NBC. That's all.
Yeah, I understand that. Back to Ally McHugh for a moment. She's going to go next up. Her next stop will be Tokyo coming up. What does international competition mean to get that kind of experience at this stage?
I can't begin to tell you. And again, those people that know sports know that competition is everything, especially when you're doing it against the best. And fortunately or unfortunately right now for Ally, the best swimmers in the world in her events are Japanese, Australian, and Chinese, and they'll all be there in Tokyo. So it's a great chance for her to step up against the very best. The only person that won't be there is Katinka Hosu, who's from Hungary, and she's at the European Championships. But everybody else is there, including her own countrymates like Katie Ledecky. So it's going to be a great test for her, and this is exactly what she needs 2 years out because she'll have the World Championships next summer, that she's pretty much already qualified in.
I mean, this is a great measuring stick for her. Where am I now, and where do I need to go?
Midpoint of the quad, Steve, no question about it. That you have to measure yourself at the midpoint because at some point you have to feel like you're building momentum. I know people say, well, God, you're 2 years out. Give me a break. And you're right. A lot of things can happen in 2 years. But swimming is a weird sport, dude. I mean, it's a sport that, we don't have a break. You swim 51 out of 52 weeks a year. Most people take about a week off. Otherwise, it's year-round. And it's a sport that you really have to have some sort of momentum far and away out. And that's why it was important that she swam well at Nationals, because that was the selection meet for every national team the next 2 years. So if you didn't do well at Nationals, you're done for until the Olympic trials in 2020. That's why it was really important for her to swim well there.
You mentioned Katie Ledecky and properly referenced her a couple times during this. And Katie, of course, can't swim collegiately anymore because she's turning pro. It's all part of the NCAA rules and so forth, which we can get into another time. Yeah. But when you look at her, you're always, you and I both know, you either get better or you get worse. You never stay the same. Where is she better? Well,
you're comparing her to Katie Ledecky, and that's hard. I mean, that's why I feel for the great ones like LeBron and like Michael and like Tiger, because when you watch them, you're always comparing them against their former selves, which is unfair in many ways. And that's the way Katie is. She is so dominant. She is so good that I'll just give you a quick example. The 800 freestyle, she wins by 10 or 11 seconds, but she's 4-6 seconds off her world record, and everybody thinks the sky is falling. And she's still 8 seconds ahead of everybody else in the world, not just at Nationals, in the world. So it's just like her domination is so unbelievable that we're starting to say, oh, my gosh, what if Katie doesn't break a world record? At some point, you're going to level off, It's going to be impossible for her or for anybody to continue those strides to get better and better. But that's one of the reasons why she is the greatest, because I still think she's capable of going faster. She broke a world record 4 months ago, in the 1500s. So it's not like she's, getting worse.
Well, what do you mean Nolan Ryan only threw a one-hitter? I mean,
That's right. That's exactly right. Nolan Ryan, one-hitter. What's wrong with him?
What is wrong with him?
Right. That's what we always say.
One final one for you. It turned out back in June we were mapping out for our football TV show. We do segments on other athletes at Penn State. And one of the athletes that was brought up in the meeting was Ally McHugh. This is back in June. So this is before she's done all this.
Cool.
All right. So I have to sit down with her at some point, probably in the next 3 weeks, Rowdy, to interview her. Give me a question that if you had a chance to interview her, what would that question be from you?
I would say, what was going through your mind when you knew you had to get up there and race against the very best in the 400 IM? There were 4 times that were ranked in the top 10 in the world in that heat of the 400 IM. It was one of the great national 400 IMs I have ever seen, and that's without Katie Ledecky, who swims the 400 IM, had the American record in it at one time, and without Ella Easton, who is the fastest yard swimmer in history in the 400 IM. So it was really an incredible 400. So I would ask her what was going through her mind as she turned into that last 100, because she was not in the lead going into the last 100.
Right.
It was pretty cool.
That question will make the cut, see? And I'll make sure, and I'll specify to her, so, I talked to Rowdy Gaines, which, of course, will then impress her. And then, after I'm done impressing her, I'll ask that question.
She's awesome. She's just what the doctor ordered for USA Swimming.
Rowdy, absolute pleasure. Thrilled that you were able to, in a short period of time, come on the show, and really enjoyed talking swimming with you today. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, buddy. I love talking swimming. I'll do it any time, but I appreciate you having me on, man.
Thank you. Rowdy
Gaines. Go
Gaines.
Nittany Lions.
Am I supposed to say go Gators here?
No. I went to Auburn.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You went to Auburn. Auburn's coming up on Penn State's football schedule down the road here, by the way.
That's good. We'll have to get back with each other then.
That sounds good. I'll get down to Toomer's Corner.
There you go. Good job, buddy.
Thanks, Rowdy.
See ya.
NBC Sports Swimming analyst Rowdy Gaines. All right. We will come back with more in a moment as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Great to have you with us on the show today. Brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Boy, was Rowdy Gaines cool or what? That was, I really enjoyed that. Like, he's really into it, and I think he likes the fact that we're into it. Like I said, it was interesting because Ally McHugh, we were supposed to, we'd set up we had a meeting in June, and we'd said, okay, here's some subjects we'd like to talk to for the Roar segment that I produce on the football TV show. Okay. Well, she was one of the ones. Now, she hadn't done any of this yet. She hadn't done any of this yet. In fact, I was supposed to interview her 3 weeks ago. But then she won. So then we pushed it back a week. Well, then she won again. I finally said to Mark Brumbaugh, I said, you got to tell her to stop winning it so we can get this thing done. Now she's in Tokyo. That's why we had Rowdy on. That was great. Really enjoyed that. All right, Brett McMurphy was able to get a hold of 16 athletic directors, Sean?
Contacted close to 24 current FBS athletic directors just asking for their opinion on the situation at Ohio State. And he posted this a little earlier today on Facebook. We'll read.
Just you read the responses. We don't have to read the numbers because these are all anonymous.
Yep, all anonymous, no names. We'll read one or two here. Maybe we'll read a few more at the next half hour when we have Kevin on.
Give us about 5 or 6 here.
In today's landscape, quote unquote, the Ohio State president is scared. Expletive less. The presidents and ADs were fired at Penn State and Baylor. When the president decides this starts going downhill and lies can be proven, then everyone will run for the hills. That's one quote from one AD. AD number 2, I'm sure they'd love to keep him, but they have to first protect the university. AD number 3 looks like a smart move in this case to provide a layer of objectivity and separation regardless of the outcome. And one more quote, AD number 4, no, there's no way you can keep him. They're trying to see how far and wide people knew, who knew what, and when did they know. If they keep him, the onslaught will never end. So there's some quotes from 4 ADs right there.
It seems like there are 3 outcomes here. One of them is he's finished. Number 2 is he's exonerated. Number 3, he's suspended. But I think this goes further than just talking about Urban Meyer. When the quote is, all the wives knew, anybody who was on the staff in 2015 also has to be a part of the investigation, and it has to give context to what was going on.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
I love how when your phone or your iPad kicks in something. I just received my 74th flood advisory. All right. That's all it does is rain. Oh, my goodness. And today's show brought to you by our good friends at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews. Best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And yes, indeed, the pickle bar is second to none. It's all at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. By the way, with some great specials coming up as well between now and Tuesday, Sean.
Yeah, great deals. Coors Light is on special. Open 9 to 9 today, tomorrow. Coors Light 24-pack 16-ounce cans, $17.97. Moosehead 12-pack cans. Moosehead 12-pack cans, $9.95. White Claw Seltzer 12-pack cans, $14.95. But yeah, the big one, Coors Light 24-pack 16-ounce cans, the pounders, $17.97. And for people in the Sunbury area, and they know this very well, the Sunbury Kiwanis Club, they always have a seafood fest leading up to Labor Day. So if you want, swing by Brewers Outlet. You'll see the forms. So if you have a little Labor Day thing with some, you want to get some shrimp, lobster, clams, stuffed flounder, they have seafood fest forms from the Kiwanis there at Brewers Outlet as well. So you can pick up your order form, and then I believe like the Thursday or Friday before Labor Day, then you go to Brewers Outlet and pick up your seafood. Convenient.
Oh, no.
That's the deal right there.
Oh, my goodness, I'm going to be there less than 2 weeks before.
New England lobsters, mini crab cakes, lobster macaroni and cheese, mussels, mahogany clams.
I was in Cape Cod. My son Christopher ordered lobster mac. He loved it. Oh, lobster mac. All right, let's bring in the last bastion of wisdom on earth.
Thank goodness. Thank God it's Friday.
I want 6 pickles. That's it. 6 pickles. Now they're having a fish thing and all this other stuff.
Seafood
6
Fest.
pickles.
The Sunbury Kiwanis Seafood Fest.
The new season starting. So, the ante's up.
The
ante is now higher.
7?
12?
This year when I win.
8.5?
This year when I win. Listen to this year when I win.
I want pickles.
Why wait 3 weeks to start the smack talk? Just start right now.
I figure if I order them now, I'll get them before 2020. So.
Maybe we'll bring Rowdy Gaines back before you get pickles.
Well, what a week in sports, and your Red Sox just beat my poor Yankees to death last night. I'm watching the game. The Yankees are up 4-0. I'm cruising, so I put Big Brother on. Have you guys watching Big Brother? Oh, my God, what a great show. Anyway, just cruising 4-0. I flip back at a commercial. They're losing 11-4. I'm like, oh, or 12-4 or 10. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Oh.
Well, Steve Pearce, who they picked up in that trade about, 6 weeks ago from Toronto, hit 3 home runs last night.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm done with my game here. I did a doubleheader yesterday. Mm-hmm. So what I usually do is I get in the car and I'll turn on the Red Sox network and I'll drive home. I'm driving home, and I knew what the score was because I have to do a post game. I have to do a post game scoreboard as part of our broadcast, so I knew what the score was. And Steve Pearce comes to the plate with a chance to hit his 4th home run. The Yankees walked him. And the crowd, oh, God.
That's good for the rivalry. That's cool.
You're like,
it's funny. I'm watching Cora in the dugout when the Yankees took a 4-0 lead, and you can see the look on his face. He goes, that's nothing. They are so good this year, and I'm telling you guys, it's not necessarily the Yankees and Red Sox are so great. The baseball, are the teams, are they that great, or are the other teams that bad? Did you see the Phillies game? The rundown?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My God. That's just... and there was a Yankee game where a guy was on second base. I think they were playing Toronto or somebody. Ground ball to short. The guy on second base breaks for third base. That's Little League stuff. The shortstop just tossed it to the third baseman and waited for the guy to slide in. And that rundown the other night, have you ever seen a double play on a rundown like that? I've never seen that. And everyone's saying, oh, the Red Sox great defense. That's about as bad a base running as you can possibly do, you know?
Yeah.
And you're starting to wonder about the quality of sport and football and baseball, that there's like 2 or 3 really good teams, and the rest stink. You know?
Well, I said, I think I said, 5 years ago, Sean, you might remember when I started to argue about this, is that there are no more great teams, just a bunch of really, really good ones. In other words, the champion's really, really good, but they're not necessarily great.
Name rivals to the Yankees and Red Sox right now in baseball.
I mean, currently, Houston.
Okay, name another one. I mean, there's 32 teams, so.
Yeah, I know. I would say after that the Cubs would be next.
Yeah, I mean they're having these mammoth seasons. I mean, the Red Sox are going to win over 120 games. If they go 500 the rest of the year, they still win over 100 games. That's amazing. It's August.
Yeah, it is amazing. And Chris Sale was supposed to pitch last night. Didn't Brian Johnson pitch?
That's the best thing that could have happened to the Red Sox. I think they sat him on purpose. If it was the playoffs, he'd be pitching. In other words, they are getting ready for the playoffs now. They know they're golden, and they're resting these guys. If you're hurt at all and you're a Red Sox, I mean, they've got great utility players. Brock Holt, they've got everything a baseball team could possibly want. and they can rest guys, sit them down for a week, and I would sit Sale for a month. Seriously, they don't need him. Their pitching's great. They do not need him to make the playoffs. So sit them down, get them ready for the playoffs, and no one's going to beat them. Nobody.
That's what one of the Phillies fan came up to me and he said, "Yeah, split with you in Fenway." And I said, "Yeah, with the Red Sox threw their third and fourth best starters." I said, in fact, they threw their third and their sixth best starter. You threw your top two guys.
Yeah. No, and it's okay. The Phillies are a good baseball team.
They're good. They're good.
But the Red Sox are just, oh, my gosh, they're good. I mean, I don't even remember when they lost a game. I think they lost maybe 2 or 3 games in the last month. I mean, they're just beating the tar out of everybody. The last team that beat them in the series was the Yankees. So. Yeah,
in the series, the Red Sox, well, they had one bad series where they lost to the White Sox, 2 out of 3. And I'm looking around like, what the heck are we doing here?
Fire the manager.
It's like chorus and pacing back and forth. On my job at stake here, Alex, you're 40 games over 500. You're all right.
So what's your take on Urban?
I am exercising. I'm being measured about it.
Yep.
Because I think it's very important that you arrive at a truth that you believe in and then make judgments from there.
Well,
I will say this about Brett McMurphy's story. Brett McMurphy's story is that he put out on Wednesday. What I find interesting about that is it's been out there now, 52 hours, Sean? Mm-hmm. That sound right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And there has not been a single person that has come out and said, no, he's got it wrong. There hasn't been a single person that's attacked the story that he wrote in 52 hours. When's the last time you saw a story like that where a story was put out and nobody attacked it?
So does that mean everything's true?
Well, you look at what he did. He interviewed her meaning Courtney Smith. Okay. Mm-hmm. So she puts out, her version. But he also has it backed up with text messages. Now, what's going to be important for Ohio State is to sit down with the Myers and find out the context of those text messages and the context of conversations between the two. Then, I think this goes further than that. There is a critical quote in there, because obviously Meyer knew there was problems. He freely admitted at the press conference that in 2009 he and Shelley tried to counsel the Smiths. All right, so that means he already had prior knowledge of another incident because the two of them volunteered to help them go on a path of counseling. Okay. But this goes deeper than just Urban Meyer if they're going to investigate it. The critical quote that Courtney Smith makes is, quote, all the wives knew. Now, it indicates to me she told other wives. Now, you don't know if those wives told their husbands, but anybody who's on the 2015 staff at Ohio State also has to be talked to. And I'm wondering if along the line, is there a violation of Title IX here? And I think that becomes the key as to whether jobs are kept, people are suspended, or they're let go.
So what was Urban Meyer's responsibility because he knew they were having marital problems?
Well, if he knew there was violence in the relationship, as an employee at Ohio State University, he would be, of course, supervisor. It would be his responsibility to, if he has been arrested for something, to report it up the chain or report it to HR.
Was he arrested for it?
In 2015, he was taken in, and the original arrest report, which Brett McMurphy has the box that is checked arrested. McMurphy then went back to the Powell, Ohio Police Department and he has the sheet already, but he went back. The box is not checked right now. Now, what's the, so that becomes a real mystery in here. But especially for an alleged violent act against a woman, would be his responsibility as a supervisor. Well, of course, if he knew in 2015, why didn't he fire him then? And why didn't he fire him then? And why wasn't it reported to HR or reported to the athletic director, Gene Smith, as part of a procedural?
Now, is he responsible to report that?
If any, I've had to take in the last 16 months, Kev. I've had to take at Penn State a Cleary Act test, a mandatory reporter test, a Title IX test, a compliance test, and the last one I took was about a month, 6 weeks ago, a sexual harassment test on how to report each. It's the responsibility of every employee and not just a supervisor to report something that's out of the ordinary.
Gotcha. Okay, you've answered my questions. Because I'm going back to the paternal stuff, the witch hunt. And this does not sound like a witch hunt. This sounds like there was something going on, and he didn't necessarily try to hide it, but he tried to intervene, but he didn't follow all the way through. And
I think if I'm giving him,
a lot of people didn't follow through.
Right. Well, let me say this. Let's take it from the point of view of, okay, let's go down the avenue for a moment of let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's just go down that road for a moment.
Yep.
This is somebody he is known forever. He is Earl Bruce's grandson. So Urban knew him when he was a kid. Earl Bruce was a guy that really got Urban Meyer going in coaching. So there's a sense of loyalty along the way. So that when Urban Meyer, he played for Urban Meyer at Bowling Green. Then when Urban Meyer had an opportunity to put him in to get him on the staff in some capacity that then led to a coaching capacity, he did at Florida. And then brought him with him to Ohio State and made him a position coach.
So he likes him a lot.
Right. So there's always been that sense of responsibility or loyalty. A guy's loyal to him. He's loyal back. And then I'm sure the Myers thought that they could help them through the situation. Unfortunately, again, see, I'm taking that avenue for a moment. So I'm just playing a scenario out here, okay?
Yep.
And not making any judgment. And in that scenario, put yourself in their shoes. I mean, would you try to do the same thing for people you cared about and so on? But it's alleged in 2009 that when Courtney Smith was pregnant, he grabbed her by the T-shirt and he slammed her up against the wall. Now, I mean, it's just there has to be some point where there's a line, and did he cross that line, and was it enough to report it? And I think that's what Ohio State's trying to find out right now, if there was a responsibility to report it or there was a responsibility in 2015 to A, report it, and then B, fire him.
Listening to you, he had the responsibility to do something about it. And he didn't because it was his friend, and he knew there would be a lot of trouble. And now it's too late. So...
Well, to me, there are three scenarios here. Actually, there's four scenarios. Scenario number one is obvious. He's let go. That's an obvious scenario. Okay. Scenario number two is he retains his job. Okay. Scenario number three is he's suspended. And scenario number four is other coaches are then caught up in this because they, too, did not report anything, and thus they lose their jobs. So, I mean, there's several scenarios that are involved here, and it's going to be up to everybody involved to just be straight with the investigators, give some context as to what was going on, why decisions were made, why they weren't made, what were the facts, and can the investigators at Ohio State get a hold of anybody in the Powell Police Department to explain the two arrest reports in 2015. Now, Zach Smith himself...
I'm sure they can get whatever they want. So,
well,
I think Urban's in a lot of trouble. But
right. Well, they don't have They don't have
fireable.
Power.
Is it a fireable offense? I don't know. So
I don't know. That's going to be up to them to determine. I think if they're measured about it, you take your time, you make sure you get all the right answers to make the best judgment. You can't be held hostage in the investigation to the fact that training camp began today. You can't be held to the fact that the first game's 4 weeks from tomorrow. You have to be able to take as much time as you need to get it right, or at least as close to right as possible, and then make a judgment.
I think the fact that the police were involved, but it doesn't sound like they were heavily involved, is a big deal.
It's hard to tell because Smith also has to go to court, I think, in a week and a half. I'm trying to remember what the charge was, because what really ignited this was that he had his children for a day or something like that, and he had to bring them back. And part of the agreement was it had to be at a neutral location. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess he may have either been late or had gone to the neutral location. She wasn't there, something, but he brought the children back to the driveway. And I don't know if there's a restraining order or something, but he was arrested for that.
For crying out!
This is a very tangled web that I can freely admit we're all way on the outside looking in, trying to make guesses.
It sounds pretty crazy with a lot of angry people, and I think the Myers are caught right in the middle of it. And they tried to help the guy, it didn't work. They tried to help her, it didn't work. I don't know. The question is fireable. I don't know. Have to hear more, I guess, but you explained it very well. I don't know what's going on.
Again, I think part of it's going to be universities are very tied in with Title IX right now.
Yeah.
And if you look at the new Texas A&M assistant coaching contracts, which were put out today in the Dallas Morning News, they all have Title IX clauses on reporting in them. And this was done before any of this happened. So a lot of people are aware of it. The question is whether there's a violation of it here. If there's not, I think they keep their jobs. If there is, then I think there's trouble for them.
Oh, boy.
Hey, have a good weekend.
You too. Bye, Sean.
Take care, guys. All the best.
We'll see you.
You betcha.
God, we're up to 12 pickles now. Jeez.
I tell you, yep. Going up and up.
All brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury.
You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury. You can hear us anywhere in the world with the Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation app.